Hey, welcome to our last day of e-learning, last day of school. We've made it this far, and hopefully we close things out on a strong note. So today we're going to look at reviewing factoring trinomials. All right, so here we go. If you want to pause this and get these down at the start, these should be in your notes from before, but here's the steps again to how to get started, especially these first two that we're going to do are when A is not 1. And so if you need me to pause and slow down, you've got the steps over there to go with everything that I'm going to be doing here. Okay? So step 1 is to multiply. So we've got A, B, and C. So we're going to multiply A times C right there. So when we do that, we get a positive 21. So we're going to list the factors of 21 over here. Okay, and so it looks like this. We've got 1 and 21, 2 doesn't work, 3 and 7, 4, 5, and 6, none of those work. So we want to find the factors of A times C that combine to B. So when we look at our two options here, now look here, these are all positives. I put a positive 21 there, so that tells me I want the one that adds the 22. So it's going to be this one, the one that combines to B. All right, now we're going to replace B with those factors. So we're going to split B up, and we're going to have 7x squared plus 1x plus 21x plus C was 3. Okay, and so that's the tough part. Now once we get to here, we're going to actually do what we did. We've done this in the past, but anyhow, what we're going to do is we're going to do factor by grouping. So I'm going to group 2 by 2, and if I look at this group, you can use parentheses, you can put a dotted line down the middle if you want, however you want to group it separate. But here, this side, we've got an x in common. So we factor out the x and divide that back in, we get 7x plus 1. Now hopefully over here we get the same thing. 3 goes into 21, that's the only thing they have in common. So we're going to factor out a positive 3. Notice I moved the plus sign down. So 3 into 21 is 7x plus 1. So these match up, which is exactly what we want. And then our final answer, we get x plus 3 times 7x plus 1. All right, so there is a factor of trinomials where A is not 1. Okay? All right. Forgot my eraser over here. So we can go ahead and erase that one. You guys get caught up. We're going to do 4 examples here today. We'll keep it pretty short and sweet for the last day of school. For number 2, and these first two are the lengthier ones. We get 30x squared plus 17x minus 2. All right, so this is what we've got. Again, A, B, and C. If it helps you to label these as A, B, and C, go ahead and do that. We're going to multiply A times C, so we've got a negative 60. Now 60 has a lot of factors, so being honest here, this is the toughest one we're going to do on the notes. Something like this would be the toughest one in the assignment. All right, so we've got 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 3 and 20 works, 4 and 15 works, 5 and 12 works, 6 and 10 works, 7, 8, 9, none of those work. So we have to go through and find which combination here will combine to B. So to 17, we could get this one to work. We could also get that one to work. So does it mean we can just pick whichever one we want? It does not. Right? If you recall, we have to find the one that will subtract to B. How do I know it's subtraction? Because this is a negative. This one, to get positive 17, I would need positive 5 and positive 12. Would that multiply to negative 60? That would not. And so that is why I want this one, and because it's positive 17, it's a positive 20 minus the 3. So whatever this sign is for B, that's what the larger column will match up with there. So now, that is the toughest part of this one. If you can get past that, now we've got to split up. 30x squared minus 3x plus 20x minus 2. Okay, so this is where we end up, and now we've got this group and this group. On this side, they have a 3 in common and an x. So we factor out a 3x. We're going to divide that back into both. We get 10x minus 1. This one has a 2 in common. The 2 goes into that, so a plus 2. 2 into that, we get 10x minus 1. So we've got like terms here and here. So finally, all of these were equal. So finally, we end up with 3x plus 2 times the 10x minus the 1. All right, and there we go. Those are the 2 lengthier ones. So I'm going to keep going here just to keep this and I'm not talking too long, but there is number 2. Pause if you feel like you need. That one's tricky. That would be as tough as it gets. Okay, now the next 2, this is the order we did them in class. We always kind of do it this way. You do the heavy lifting first, and then once we get to this one, it seems a lot easier. So for number 3, now we're going to do a trinomial where we have a is 1. So this time we got x squared minus 11x plus 24. All right, so when we go to this, we've got a, there's nothing out here, but that's really a 1. We've got b, and we've got c. Okay, so when we go to multiply a times c, we notice this is a 1. So basically what we get to do on this, if you remember, you get to take the shorter route. You don't have to do grouping, and I'll explain that once we get here. But these first 3 steps, we still have to do all of that. Essentially step 3 is what changes, and we just get to skip to the answer. So we've got positive 24, you got 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 will work, 3 and 8, 4 works, 4 and 6, and 5 doesn't work. So we want the one that combines to 11. Now sometimes this is tricky because it's negative 11, but still, we want the one by addition. Look at this sign. This tells me if I want addition or subtraction for the combining part. So this will work. This one, nope. This one, nope. That'll get you 10, which is close but not work. This will get us 10, but that won't work. So 3 and 8 is the only one that combines to 11. Now because it's negative 11 and this is positive, they're both going to be the same sign, so they're both going to be negative. All right, and now the shortcut that I'm talking about, we could go through the factor by grouping funhouse, but here at the end, when a is 1, we can skip all of this, and just whatever combines to b, that will be our 2 factors for our answer, and we get x minus 3 and x minus 8. So those are the shorter ones. So hopefully you guys remember that from before, and so we're going to do one more to wrap this up. Okay, there's that one. Remember, that only works when a is 1. All right, last one of the school year here. All right, x squared minus x minus 42. So again, a is here, here's b, and here's c. We're going to multiply a times c. The a is 1. So that means we can take the shorter route. So factors of 42, we've got 1 and 42, 2 and 21, 3 and 14. 4 doesn't work, 5 doesn't work, but 6 and 7 works. So we want the one that will combine. This b is really a negative 1. So these are all out. This one will work. Now, we want, when this is negative, we're going to have one of each sign. So because this one's negative, that tells me the larger column is going to be the negative, and then this will be the positive. Because if you were to add, or 6 minus 7, technically subtract, 6 minus 7, we get negative 1. So those are my 2 answers. I get x plus 6 and x minus 7. Okay? So, there you go. All right. If you have questions, let me know. If there's any kind of late work you have still to turn in, especially tests and quizzes some of you have reached out to, hopefully we're getting on top of those things. We want to turn in, if possible, by the end of the day Friday. If it's going to be longer than that, I need you to let me know now, please. If you have anything at all that I can help you out with, especially pertaining to math, but just going forward, whether it's in school, let me know. I always tell my classes that, I want to help you guys out. Unfortunate situation, just the way things have had to wrap up this year, but hopefully you guys are staying healthy and take care of yourselves. And like I said, please let me know if there's anything at all I can do to help you out. I hope you've enjoyed this time of wearing your hoods and your hats in class. So have a great summer, and let me know, like I said, if there's anything I can do to help you out.